What's up, little girls and shady men? My name is KotyTang. Every once in a while, an indie game is created that gains worldwide attention, and no matter how much I feel that they don't deserve nearly the amount of praise that they get, it doesn't change the fact that they've struck the right chords with an astonishing amount of people. Kena won't be one of those games, but when it comes to indie games, these are the kind that I like, and they are the ones that I feel set a certain precedent for competing indie games, and why so many always fall so short to me. Kena Bridge of Spirits is what happens when the creative spirit of the PS2 era finds a way to resurface and break through the tough layer of carbon copy lackluster games that make up modern gaming. It's a refreshing return to a long forgotten era of games, ones that used to rely on their unique engaging gameplay, platforming, exploration, secrets, iconic mascots, and most importantly, the player above all else. While I don't think Kena will be given the indie spotlight in the eyes of gamers, I believe anybody who plays it will have one hell of a time. The story is simple. Kena is a spirit guide, and as such, she has the ability to see and interact with spirits. Through this, she is capable of helping them move on to the afterlife if something is preventing them from going. Kena is on a journey to a sacred mountain shrine, and on her adventure, she ends up helping the people of an abandoned village and discovers the secrets that led to the village's sad state. The game and its pre-rendered cutscenes flow well enough together, though from the very start you can tell they aren't in-game. Though I will say it's not enough of a jump in graphics to distract you. Kena is a game that perfectly captures the iconic animation style of Pixar movies, and it's just as much fun to watch these cutscenes as it is to play through the game. The story progresses visually as you continue to remove the corruption covering the village and its surrounding areas. After defeating the enemies, they stay defeated, and the affected area is cleansed for the entire game, giving you the freedom to explore and enjoy the fruits of your labor through every step of your journey. There are 3 parts to the game, and then it ends with a quite satisfying finale. Each area requires you to collect relics related to the spirit that you're trying to help. In order to obtain the relics, you'll be solving puzzles, fighting through ruins, fighting the bosses that house each relic, and it always ends in a boss fight that tests the skills and abilities you've acquired up to that point. Kena has such a gorgeous art style that it draws you into its world for its sights. Every area of the game is budding with a cartoony, exaggerated detail. The fantasy aspects of the game work to bring the forest to life and give a large variety of locations to something that would otherwise be very generic scenery. As you play through the game, you'll unlock more and more of the village, which makes for more secrets to find and just a larger hub to play in. Traveling in an abandoned village encased in an overgrown forest that's riddled with spirits of the dead would normally make for a lonely and unsettling adventure, but with the help of the bright, vibrant colors, upbeat music, and being surrounded by adorable creatures that follow you everywhere you go, it creates an environment that strangely feels alive and relaxing. Even after you've taken out the troves of enemies and sealed away the corruption, somehow the game always feels active. You'll start out with nothing but your staff. With the help of furry creatures you'll discover around the game called rots, you'll be leveling Kena and her tools up over time. The skill tree of Kena is very simplistic and doesn't make her that much stronger by the time you're fighting the final boss. It does manage to make you feel like you've improved enough to be equipped for whatever challenges you face. The game prevents you from leveling up your skills all at once by requiring you to have found a set number of rots. Rots are like if Breath of the Wild gave an actual purpose to Korok seeds. The difference is, instead of giving you an actual piece of shit as a reward for finding over 300 of them, rots not only serve as a way to interact with everything in the world, they affect your abilities, level, health, skill points, money, and much more. You can find them hidden in hundreds of places throughout your travels. With them, you can also find a bunch of different hats to place on their heads. The hats don't do anything gameplay wise, but it does look cute on them. If you want to use your abilities, you can charge them through either taking damage or attacking enemies. This rule also applies for certain enemies. The more you damage them, the more skills they can use against you as well. The most useful skills are the rot abilities, which imbue your attacks with enhancements that often kill basic enemies in one hit or have properties that make fighting off hordes much easier. There's a large number of different enemy types, all with their own tactics and ways to quickly defeat them. Learning each enemy type and utilizing Kena's skills is crucial for every fight. While the difficulty of the game isn't too hard, and I'd say for the most part, it delivers just the right amount of challenge that doesn't feel too unforgiving or too lenient. There's no ability to heal in the game, which actually encourages smart gameplay and forces the player to think about how to defeat the enemies without carelessly throwing their health away. The exception is that every boss does come with 2 to 3 small flowers in the area that can be used to heal Kena for a small amount of her health. But once you use them, they don't recharge, leaving you vulnerable for the rest of the fight. I feel like the game relies too much on using the bow, as it's the only way to get critical hits, stun enemies, and the reward for using a bow rather than getting up close is actually much higher. The high risk, high reward factor is kind of lacking in this game. It's more like high risk, low reward when it comes to the staff, as the majority of enemies don't get stunned or knocked back unless you use a rot infused attack. Kena is also not the most adept warrior, as her staff combos leave her more vulnerable than just using the bow. The risk and reward unfairly favors Kena way too much when using the bow, and it favors the enemies when you don't use the bow. While engaging in staff-based combat, Kena's guard goes out way too quickly, even when the ability is maxed out, and her parry, while useful, can more often than not be too risky to use, especially when facing a boss. At most points in her combo, Kena is unable to use her shield, or even dodge, as there are far too many moments where she is stuck in an animation. While using the bow, you can freely block and dodge whenever you feel necessary. Whether you're fighting a normal enemy or a boss, very few enemies actually have a hurt animation. In the case of most enemies, headshots and firing at their weak points will kill them much faster, as opposed to going toe to toe with the enemy by using your staff. The bow is just 100 times safer, and there are no enemies in the game that punish overusing the bow. The game actually ends up punishing you to an unreasonable amount for using your staff. After you get the dash at the last section of the game, you're able to dash into enemies and it stun locks them. This allows you to get off free combos with your staff. It's a highly exploitable move that even works against boss fights of the game. Combine that with the Rot Hammer, which is already exploitable as hell early on, and you can steamroll almost any boss and most enemies of the game, so long as you have an ability point to use the skill in the first place. For the majority of the game, the staff proves to not be a viable means of attacking, and later it becomes broken to the point of being a major exploitable tool in the game. Basically, the staff combat needs a lot of rebalancing. If you plan on making another Kena or even just a game similar to it, the combat would greatly benefit from unlocking combo extensions, allowing the player to upgrade the strength of their staff, giving the player various armor upgrades so they are more resilient in combat, or even just allow rots to act as a temporary invincibility state so you don't risk the entire fight by trying to attack one time. By doing that, you can focus more on a variety of magical and physical staff abilities, ones that can be used for different situations to give the combat much more variety, and actually incentivize the usage of the staff itself in combat. The exploration in Kena is extremely meaningful. You'll be doing yourself a massive disservice for not exploring around, as everything you find is directly tied to making Kena stronger. Every secret breeds progress. There are no meaningless finds in this game. There are so many secrets that at some point you'll have Kena maxed out and still be getting experience points, which disappointingly proves that the skill tree is just not big enough in this game. It's a hit and miss. It's nice there are so many secrets and that it's tied to growing Kena, but at some point it just becomes a completion objective and loses its worth. At least it's near the end of the game, as Kena's skills still can't go to their maximum until you've reached the third part. Kena is a game that isn't afraid to be itself. It's a return to classic 3D platformers of the PS2 era, and with the added twist of modern day technology creates a purely nostalgic, yet very unique game that stands on its own 2 feet. It finds its own identity through its Asian aesthetic, beautiful art style, and spirit-based gameplay. It's a refreshing sort of gameplay that larger companies wouldn't dare to fall back into. Kena is the type of single-player experience that we need to see more of in the industry. The joy of indie games has always been the lack of fear toward what is considered to be the industry standard. In a land showered in battle royales, shooters, and moralist gacha games, Kena shines brighter than all of them in style, character, and identity. I'm genuinely impressed by this game. Kena Bridge of Spirits is an instant classic for anybody who plays it, and a hidden gem to anybody who hasn't. This isn't an experience that could only be done on the PS5, but it is a nostalgic gameplay trip to anybody who has ever enjoyed PS1 and PS2 games. Kena is a platformer that is inspired by PS2 platformer classics that perfectly mixes modern day mechanics into an already timeless genre. This is a game that I'll be recommending to anybody who wants to feel the same sense of wonder that I felt as a child playing games like Tak, Jak and Daxter, Zelda, and Ty the Tasmanian Tiger. It's an absolute must buy. This is only their first game and it's already a contender for Indie Game of the Year. Congratulations to Ember Lab and everyone who worked on this game. You all have outdone yourselves and should be proud of this fantastic game you've created. That's all the time I've got for this video. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like, throw a comment down below, subscribe to the channel for more, and follow me on Twitter at KotyTang to tell me how much you hate me. I'll see you guys in the next one.
I will never abandon my people.